The older brother points at a man in the distance and says, seriously, sis, look over there. Isn't that your bag? He angrily walks over to the man and says angrily, hey, I think that's our bag. Please give it back. The young man says nervously, I didn't steal this bag. I found it lying on the side of the road. The sister says firmly, brother, that's my bag. The young man asks politely, if it's your bag, can you prove it really belongs to you? The older brother says angrily, if it isn't ours, then is it yours? The sister says confidently, there are $10,000 in this bag, along with a key. You can check. The young man opens the bag, looks inside, and says honestly, you're right. It really is your bag. Here, please take it back. The sister says gratefully, I've been looking for my purse for a long time. Thank you so much. She takes some money out of her bag, hands it to him and says kindly, I have a few $100s. This is just a small gift from me. Please take it. The young man says respectfully, I'm sorry, but I can't accept this money. The sister says warmly, all right, if you ever need help, my company is right over there. Feel free to come see me anytime. Then she starts to leave. The young man says hesitantly, wait a minute, please listen to me. The sister stops and asks curiously, what is it? The young man says shyly, could you lend me a few $100s? The older brother says sarcastically, sis, I told you there aren't many good people left. He refused your money a minute ago, and now he's asking to borrow some. The sister asks curiously, when I offered you money, you wouldn't take it. Why are you asking to borrow it now? The young man says honestly, a loan is a responsibility that a person pays back, and that gives me peace of mind. The sister asks calmly, how much do you need? The young man holds out one hand and says quietly, just $500. The sister takes out $2,000 and says generously, here, take these $2,000. The older brother grabs the money and says firmly, sis, why are you giving him so much? He looks like a scammer to me. The older brother asks seriously, where do you live? What's your phone number? We don't know anything about you. The young man says sincerely, I'm really not a scammer. My home is in a small village. My younger sister was accepted into a university, so we both came to the city to work and pay for her education. But one day, while crossing the street, she injured her leg. I need to get back to her as soon as possible. A little while later, they arrive at his house, and the young man says politely, this is my home. If you'd like, please come inside and have a glass of water. After getting out of the car, the older brother looks at the house and says quietly, sis, their house is in really rough shape. Then, they both walk inside. The disabled sister asks curiously, who are these people? The brother says gently, they're the ones who helped me. They brought me all the way home. Then, he asks concernedly, by the way, how's your leg now? And please don't work anymore. The younger sister says softly, brother, I'm fine. I can still work. Then she starts crying and says tearfully, this is all my fault. I wish I had never gotten into college. I didn't listen to you. I went to work anyway, and that's how I hurt my leg. Maybe I shouldn't go to college anymore. The brother says encouragingly, don't ever say that. You worked so hard to get into college, and you're not giving up now. I may not have much education, but I do know one thing, education can change a person's future. Even if I have to sell everything I own, I'll make sure you finish school. Then the sister quietly whispers something in her brother's ear. A little while later, the kind woman brings over a box and hands it to the young man. Then, the kind woman leaves with her brother. Later, when the brother opens the box, he finds a large amount of cash hidden inside. He quickly starts to return the money, but then he stops after thinking for a moment. 6 years later, the young man's sister comes running over and says excitedly, brother, I finally found her. That's the woman who helped us 6 years ago.